Good early Sunday morning to you guys and gals from sunny Tampa Bay, Florida, where it is a chilly 53 degrees outside, going down to a low of 46 tonight, but not before we hit a high of 61 today. Brr, that is cold for us. A perfect day to talk air guns. But before we get into the Air Arms S510 XS TDR regulated here, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So a lot of you have been asking where the FX Airguns factory tour video is over on the big channel AEAC home. And it is coming, I promise you. What happened is I went out there in October, I filmed for a day and a half, I got done filming, and that's when I learned that there was a big change coming to their new and already larger manufacturing facility there in Mariestad, Sweden, and I didn't want to miss out on being able to include that in the video, so I've been re-invited out for the week before IWA in March to film there again, and I promise I'll do that, and then I will bring that video to you in its entirety, where I feel that we won't be missing out on any FX goodness. Right now, the other thing you guys have been asking me a lot about are slugs. You guys are feeling it, so am I. Big change in the airgun industry, big shift in the wind, and everyone seems like that's kind of the latest buzz right now. So the question from you guys to me has been, are you going to include that in your everyday process when you receive airguns? And the answer is yes. I've got tons of ammunition now from NSA, Nielsen Specialty Ammo. It's very early here Sunday morning, guys. I got lots of good stuff from H&N. I even have some prototype slugs from JSB that they are beta testing right now. And of course, tons of the FX hybrid slugs as well. So for those of you that have been following me on Instagram and Facebook, Instagram Hooked on Air, Facebook AEAC Airgun Exploration Advancement Channel, whatever, it ought to take you right there. You'll know that I've already started including slug testing in my 25-yard culling process, as I have done here with the S510, and surprisingly, this little Lothar Walther barrel is taking a liking to several of slugs, but we will get to that in a little bit. A little bit more housekeeping. You're probably wondering why there's a GoPro Hero 8 Max here up on the countertop with me, and that's because I'm going to start filming ballistic gelatin hits again at 50 and 100 yards. For those of y'all that have been with me since the beginning, what, 3-4 years now, I used to do quite a bit of that, and then I felt like I put all the information out there for all the different calibers and some of the different pellets like Polymags and Barracuda Hunters and just the regular JSB stuff, what they're doing at 50 and 100 yards. And then, like I said, I felt like I covered it, so there was no reason to circle back to it. Well, now I'm feeling re-stimulated to do ballistic gel hits again for you guys again at those distances with the addition of slugs and with the JSB Hades, and I probably should do the H&N Hornet because I've never done that before. And if you've watched my ballistic gelatin films in the past, those were all filmed with a GoPro Hero 4 Black, which films 120 frames per second at 1080 or 240 frames per second at 720. This new baby right here films 240 frames per second in high definition 1080p. So this will be a significant upgrade for you guys when viewing these ballistic gel hits, you know, with some of these slugs and other pellets that I've been wanting to incorporate. So if a gun takes a liking to something that should be interesting for us in gelatin, and it makes enough power to do with that slug or pellet what it's supposed to do, I'm going to start reincorporating those into videos. So, oh, and again, if you've been with me long enough over on the big channel at AEAC Home, it's probably been 2 or 3 years now, but I have done a full video beginning to end, not only on how to make ballistic gelatin for you guys, for yourself, but also how to calibrate it perfectly per FBI ballistic specifications. And of course, that is always incorporated here in my reviewing. We are a no clay channel, and I intend to stay that way. So look forward to that. All right. So what have we here? We have the Air Arms S510 XS TDR Tactical Regulated Soft Touch Black. I think that is the whole name. If I've missed anything, good Lord, I'm sorry. But this gun comes to us from England, from Air Arms. If you've been hanging out with me for a while, you'll know that we've covered the Galahad. We've covered their S510 XS, which is their full rifle version of what you see here. A little bit more air reservoir, a little bit more stock, a little bit more rigid, that kind of thing. At its heart, this is a takedown rifle. What's new about it is that it is now it's now regulated, and it's got a Q-Tech moderator up here on the front, and we'll get into all that. But I guess we should start with the TDR piece. All right, so this is a 41-inch long rifle as you see it here, but when you buy it, Air Arms will include a really nice hard carry case. And if I open up this case, you're gonna see, God, I'm such a klutz this morning. You're gonna see an area here for the gun, and you're gonna see an area here for the stock, and I'll show you how that works now. And I guess the advantage to that is that if you're traveling with this gun to go compete, or you're traveling to go hunt, it can be kind of brought, you can take a full length rifle and you can bring it into a box like this and be able to more easily transport it. But what I'm doing is I'm just going counterclockwise on this knob right here. And if you keep your eye right here while I do that, you'll see that gap growing in length, and all it's doing is it's unscrewing itself from the rest of the rifle. And then it just pulls right out, and this is what you have left. So hence the name TDR, which is an acronym for or an abbreviation for takedown rifle. Now I'm just rotating this clockwise until it seats. Okay, and I'm good to go. All right, so you're looking at about a $1,400 gun here, made in England. If you've watched the reviews I've done of the other two Air Arms pre-charged pneumatics, they have been insanely accurate. 1-inch groups at 100 yards, no problem. I expect the same from this. Although I have a minor concern I do want to voice. I noticed when I was on the bench over the last couple of days, kind of working it through all the different pellets and slugs and learning the gun. I don't know if this is going to show up on camera, but I'd kind of get the bag up in this area, and then the weight of my arm and maybe my cheek a little bit was causing this to flex just a little bit to where I could see that reticle moving around on that target at 25 yards. So if you are going to bench this gun, just be mindful of that. You don't want to load it up too much, or you're going to have, here, I'll see if I can demo it here. That little bit of deflection is moving like an inch, moving that reticle an inch at 25 yards, right? Obviously, this gun is probably not made to be benched, although it does come with like an 11mm accessory rail up here in the front. It's really meant to be a field gun, and a very good field gun it should be, because by itself, this rifle only weighs 6.49 pounds, and that's with air in it. When I put a scope on it, when I put mounts on it, the sports match mounts you see here, it moved up to 8.6 pounds, which is still very reasonable. Okay, you saw how I took this off. It's just a little Allen. It's a little Allen grub screw that presses up against this area, this little 11mm accessory rail. I would like to see Air Arms here for the United States. Please start including weaver mounts here, because to get a bipod onto this, I had to either own or purchase kind of an intermediate accessory. I got this silver piece here, this silver adapter. It's this type of accessory rail to a weaver adapter, and that one came from Rapid Air Weapons. All right, I'm sure you can get them in other places, but if I hadn't had that, I wouldn't have been able to put a bipod on here. But like I said, it's 41 inches long. They come in either walnut or this black soft touch tactical. Now you'd think that this is plastic, but it's not. This is actually wood coated in black soft touch. I know a lot of you guys and gals are kind of sensitive to that and don't really care for that black polymer, hollow, tinny feel. Well, with the s510 TDR here, you're not going to get that. It's very well balanced. There's no funky vibrations. It's an insanely smooth shooting gun. One of the big things I always, I always try to be tuned into these products when I'm spending time with them for you, so I can kind of in my mind bring the information to you, how they sort of stack up under my realm of experience, over the years shooting a lot of different brands of guns. And these have to be, looks like, oof, Amazon. Looks like on a Sunday. Looks like these have to be these are some of the smoothest cocking guns out there. This is a side lever cocking. When I bring that back, it's just totally as smooth as glass. Okay, and there's the shot on full power. That Q-Tech moderator is also ventilated here at the back of the shroud. So within this shroud lives a Lothar Walther match grade barrel. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But you get a very quiet platform here, even on full power. What do I mean by full power? Well, this is a power adjustable gun. This adjuster right here, I believe, controls the transfer port opening. It's a 5-way position click. Here we go. I'm going to take you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's 5. Okay, nice quiet clicks, very smooth. If you look at this side of the gun and look right here, you're going to see a little plus minus that kind of just moves around in conjunction with me moving that around. All right. So let me get this back together so I can keep talking about the gun. But the Lothar Walther barrels that come in the Air Arms are not the normal match grade Lothar Walther barrel. Lothar Walther makes a ton of different kinds and grades of barrel, guys, for their manufacturers that buy from them. And the ones that Air Arms sources are like ultra high grade. They've been really picky. And they I don't know what exactly they do at the factory to them. I've asked, but they do spend significant additional time preparing the inner walls of that Lothar Walther ultra high grade match barrel so that when you get them, you do get enhanced accuracy. One of the things I've always noticed is I can put a ton of different types of pellets through here in a day of culling, and which would normally make a huge mess out of a lot of barrels, but because the inside of these barrels are like as smooth as glass, all of that gunk tends to not stick so that you don't get the fouling and you have accuracy for longer. And it takes like 3 or 4 patches, even after putting like 500 or 600 different types and brands of pellets through here in a day, and it just, it pulls clean super easy, and that's just something I've noticed. This is the third one. This third Air Arms that's been like that. So that's pattern, and to me, pattern becomes reality. So if you're into that, there you go. All right. Now you'll notice the air reservoir on here is super small. It's only 115 cc's. And I believe Air Arms has done that to keep the weight of this down, because obviously it's meant to be a nice field gun. There is a regulator that lives in here. I'm guessing it lives like probably in this area right here. That's just a guess. So this is what you have left full of air. So this is not a big air tank type of all-day hunting type of deal. All right, so on full burn, on the regulator from 250 bar on down to 125 bar, I'm getting 24 regulated shots with a very tight extreme spread of 22 feet per second. And a standard deviation of 4.7 feet per second. So what that means to you guys is you've got 24 usable shots at distances like 50 and 100 yards before that power starts to significantly fall off and you start noticing points of impact changes and drop changes, with your target. So something to be mindful of. The refilling this gun, they come with their own proprietary refiller. Air Arms is adamant that it's the safest way to refill a gun, and I can't argue with them. I've had Foster fittings pop off on me that weren't on there perfect, or maybe the rubber seal inside was starting to go. I've had the probes blow out on me when the O-rings start to go. I've never had one of these things. It can't, because it's kind of like it's a locking type deal where it literally can't come off the gun unless you're going to break through large pieces of metal. That's the good. The bad is it takes longer. It's a little bit finicky taking it on and off. Every once in a while I'll bash it up against the bottom of the moderator here, but if I kind of rock it as I pull it, it comes off good. It sort of just starts to collide with things when I get in a hurry, and that's on me, not Air Arms. All right. Okay, so that power adjuster. So the power adjuster controls I think, from what I can tell, the opening of that transfer port. So it's kind of, it's deciding how much air the back of that pellet is going to see. There are no internal or external regulator adjustments. There are no internal or external hammer spring adjustments, okay? That's all well and good if you want to shoot 18 grain pellets. This one's a 22, by the way. They come in 177 and 22 here in the States. But, you know, this one does very well with 16 and 18 grain pellets. All right. Now, it pushes an 18.13 grain to an average of 882 feet per second for those 24 shots, which is a perfect speed when you see people wanting to compete and get the best accuracy. 850 to 880 is kind of the sweet spot for those Diablo-shaped pellets, and it does very well there. Okay, the power adjuster, like I said, has those 5 different kind of detents to it, and I'll put those numbers up here on the screen so you can see what it's doing with 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 with a JSB 18.13 grain pellet. Okay. Now that's going to come in useful if you want to do barn work, or you're doing structure work on a farm and you don't want to be blowing holes through roofs, or you're concerned with backdrop. Maybe we want to take out a pest, you know, at 25 or 50 yards, and we don't want that pellet, you know, zinging down to 100 on full burn. That's where this type of thing comes in really handy. It also gives you a little bit of control. Like maybe that 880 or 882 is a little bit hot for a JSB 16 grain, which it also liked. It gives you the ability to dial that back to 4 and maybe find the sweet spot with the twist rate and length of this barrel so that you can get maximum accuracy. That all being said, I did see a bump in efficiency going from 5 to 3 with the JSB 18 grain. I went from 24 shots to 31 shots on that regulator, again from 250 to 125 before it fell off. So you get another 6 or 7 shots, and then it kind of became this became not so useful for me as far as power settings. I think the lowest one with the JSB 18 grain was like 325 feet per second or 329, something like that. And it was literally like throwing a rock 25 yards. I could see the pellet. It was one of those pa-ting type deals. But where that can kind of come in handy, again, if backdrop is a concern, if carrying high amounts of energy is something that you don't want to do, these Predator GTO pellets, which are a tin pellet, were very accurate at 25 yards on power setting 3. And I want to say they were pushing 865 feet per second on power level 3, which is a sweet spot for this type of pellet, and then you don't get all of that energy being carried. Speaking of energy, that 18 grain going at 882 is making 31 foot-pounds of energy, which is perfectly adequate for a 22 rifle, and at 25 yards, that same round is hitting with 26 foot-pounds. So plenty of snort out to 50 and 100 yards for light pest control, and certainly having some fun on paper and plinking. All right, so slugs. All right, so these slugs are the slugs that are coming out. From what I understand, do better in barrels that are designed specifically for them. However, there are exceptions to that. One exception is the FX hybrid slug actually shoots better in the non-FX slug X liner. It shoots better in the original liner, but they still sell that slug liner if you want, so you can experiment with JSBs and H&Ns and NSAs and all these other guys that are out there. But this barrel did very well at 25 yards with several different types of slug. The NSA, I got a ton of different weights and sizes from Nick over there at NSA, so thank you, Nick. These 20 grains is I think what they are. 20.2 grains. We're going 820 feet per second, which is a good speed. And they were doing very well at 25 yards, so I look forward to getting them out at 50 and 100 on AEAC home for the full review next week. The JSB, the H&N Sport Slugs, which are, I have two here. I think they're two different sizes, 217, 218. They both did well at 25 yards. They're heavier at 27 grains, and they were getting pushed to 720 feet per second. So that to me is not a 50-yard round, unless it's still carrying like 700 feet per second at 50 yards. So that's the whole point of the slug, but we'll figure that out with the lab radar. And I promise I'll set it right this week. I totally blew that with the airgun a couple of weeks back. That was the first ever, so I'm sorry about that. But it'll be what's really going to be interesting to me is when we get into these full reviews is comparing the energy transferred at 50 and 100 with the slug compared to the pellet. Because the whole point of the slug is it carries very similar muzzle energy to these long distances of 50, 100, 150, 200. And I've seen guys doing crazy stuff at 250 and 300 yards with these slugs and air guns. So it's going to be a huge game changer. All right. Oh, what else did I want to share? Magazines. It comes with two. They're 10 round and 22. The magazines are phenomenal. They fit everything. They fit the polymags, the metal mags, the polymag shorts, the Hornets. They fit all of these slugs. You're not going to be able to hand load. Turn this around so you guys can see it. You're not going to be able to hand load anything, I don't think, because of this design. But if all the slugs fit in here, then, hey man, who cares, right? There is additional magazine storage that kind of speaks to this gun being a field gun, a hunter type gun. And it's right here under the stock. There's two slots. So gun comes with two magazines. If you bought a third, you'd have 1, 2, 3 with you. And that's basically your 30 shots. All right. Now, what else I want to talk about? Trigger. All right, trigger, it's a dual stage. It's fully adjustable. It's 100% match grade. I haven't put a gauge on it yet, but I didn't feel the need to fiddle with it at any of my testing, which tells me it's going to be somewhere between 1.5 pounds and probably 2 pounds, and I'm going to leave it right there. Everything about it is super smooth, super light, super clean. It's just perfect. I wouldn't mess with it. Okay. Something Air Arms does differently, as you can see on the blade here, there's an integrated manual safety. All right, so if I push it that way, maybe I should show you a little bit of an angle so you can see what's going on. Okay, that's safety on and off. All right, so you're doing that with, I do it with my left hand that way, and then my trigger finger for that way, and that's safety on, and that is safety off. So that's that whole deal. Okay, the butt pad is adjustable. Put a little screw in here, and I can adjust this up. I can adjust this up and down. This is the fully down adjusted position. I don't shoot with it like that, but it made sense for getting it up here on the table with you as a little bit of a stand. This Atlas bipod, by the way, I do want to say thanks Utah Airguns. I got a couple of these from them to kind of help feature in the videos. So that's where that came from. It's really nice. This little arm here breaks down, and you can kind of adjust it left, right to get things nice and centered up. All right. Scope. The scope is the old, I shouldn't say old. I say old because I kind of got my teeth cut by watching guys like Ted Beer and Ted's Holdover. And he was all hot and sexy for the Hawk Sidewinder back then. And so it kind of has a special place in my heart. And that's what this is. This is their 4-16 by 50 SSF, which stands for side focus. It's a first focal plane scope, which means as I adjust the magnification here on the back, I don't need to click or compensate with holdover for drop and point of impact. So that'll be really fun to play with. And the reticle is freaking beautiful. Love the shape of it, nice and clear and bright and all the good things we'd expect from a Hawk. $530 price point on this scope. And of course, Sports Match Rings UK provided our mounts here. I do want to say something about the mounts. If you look, well, let me put the magazine back in so you can see what the heck I'm talking about. Okay, so I tried to mount this scope closer to the barrel, but if I went to medium mounts, it hit this magazine by maybe like 1.5 millimeters. So I couldn't do it. So you're probably going to need to run high mounts unless you use some kind of adjustable to get you nice and close to that, or maybe you've got a mount in between. But the ones I have, low, medium, and high, I had to go with the highs. Not a big deal. I had no problem compensating for any of the rounds that you see here at 25 yards. And if it can compensate, if the scope is able to compensate for 25 yards with this much raise over the center line of the barrel, you should be absolutely fine at 50 and 100. Okay, pellets. We've talked about pellets. We've talked a little bit about, we've talked about slugs. We've talked a little bit about pellets, the GTOs. Just want to go over with you quick what it liked at 25 yards that I will be bringing with me to test at 50 and 100 for the full review. I'm going to say it again. Over on AEAC Home, the Airgun Exploration and Advancement channel, my primary YouTube channel. This is just a little baby channel where I like to do some discovery and approach with you as I work my way towards and through the full review of these products over on the big channel. Okay, but it very much like these H&N Sniper Magnums at 25 yards. It did very well with the 16 grain, 1589 grain variants from JSB and Air Arms. I do want to mention, for those of you guys who watched my JSB factory tour video in the Czech Republic from last month, we did some myth busting with those guys where I was able to ask the owners how this really works behind the scenes with rebranding. Because everybody knows that JSB makes a lot of pellets out there, including these for Air Arms, okay? And there's no such thing as JSB having specific dies for each one of the pellets that they rebrand for some of these other manufacturers. Okay, basically they're on just a rotation and a lottery, and when one die wears out, you replace it with another, and these bigger companies like to run big orders through just one die. And that's why we notice some kind of changes from tin to tin and brand to brand and that sort of thing. Okay, there's one single exception, and that is with Air Arms, all right? And I forgot to mention that in that factory tour video. Air Arms has their very own exclusive die at JSB, and that's why these always look a little bit different. And that's why it's always worth having them on hand to try, because with any airgun barrel, you never know what it's going to like. It's not bad barrel, bad pellet, good barrel. You just got to figure out who likes one another and who doesn't. All right, it also did well with the 18 grain variants, the 18.13 JSBs and the 18 grain Air Arms. And like I said, even had some good fun with these 10 GTOs at 25 on that three power setting. All right, so I think I'm gonna kind of drop it right there because we still have a full review yet to do. Weather's supposed to be beautiful this week in Tampa, like 65 and sunny every day. I do have a 22 here, so I have to be mindful of the wind. So we will keep an eye on that wind, and weather permitting, the plans to get on to the full review next week. And like I said, if it winds up liking any of these slugs, I'm going to break out the new GoPro, cook up some ballistic gelatin, and we're going to have us some fun. If it doesn't happen with the Air Arms here, that's going to be my MO going forward once again, because that's just where the industry's at, and the job's to carry the mail for you guys. So with that, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having an awesome Sunday, and hope to see you guys again next week.